It's time now for County-Wide, a presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. You'll hear about the interesting issues and happenings that affect all our lives. Here's today's County-Wide.
Good day and welcome to the program. It is County-Wide. I'm Brad Miller, and we're happy to welcome into studio again, kind of the second of two parts, with Julie Fernat and Lama Hayburn, and they represent the Rural Organizing Initiative. You can find them online at roi.vote, and it's that .vote that I think is the most important part of what we'll talk about here again today in the second of our two parts. Last time we talked about candidates, and if you choose to run, especially in local elections, city and town councils, school boards, and things like that, the Rural Organizing Initiative can help you do that, not in a partisan matter, just what to expect, how to run, how to become an active candidate and perhaps an elected official. And then registration, it's so important. It's really, I mean, when you want to vote, there's two parts to it, Lama, and registration is the one you got to do before you can do the second.
Absolutely.
Now, we chatted quite a bit about registration itself, what it is, how to do it, where to go in our earlier program, but today I wanted to talk a little bit about just like that. It's not quite Thanksgiving yet, and we're already in an election cycle. It never really ends if you think about it that way.
True.
But there's deadlines coming up very quickly for when you need to be registered in order to participate in certain elective functions in the new year. Can you talk about that?
So in 2024, we will actually have 3 elections. The first is on March 19th, and that is the presidential preference election.
Okay.
And the voter registration deadline for that is February 19th, so a month before.
Not too long
Not
down
too
the
far
road.
away.
Holidays are going to keep you busy until January 1, and then you've only got a few weeks.
So make sure in February you check your registration and get registered.
Get it done.
And we'll talk a little bit more about that election in a moment.
Yeah.
But the second election is the primary election, which is on August 6th of 2024.
Okay.
And the deadline to register to vote for that is July 8th.
Okay.
Finally, we have our general election, which is November 5th. I think that's the one most people are aware of.
Everybody knows about that one.
The voter registration deadline for that is October 7th, 2024. So, maybe make a note for October, July, and February to just check your registration at the beginning of the month.
Right.
Make sure that you are registered for those elections.
Right. And I can do that best where? I can go online.
You can go to my.arizona.vote, which is a website that was set up by the Secretary of State. And it has, really, it's an interface for everything you need in order to vote.
Right.
But one of the best things it has is the ability to check your registration to make sure it has your correct address, all the details about where you live and if it's still relevant, because if you move, you do need to update that.
Okay. So that's a website you want to kind of get familiar with if you're
politically
motivated or active at all, because if not for this election, well, someone down the road, yeah. So you want to be kind of comfortable there and maybe just go and fish around a little bit and make sure you're good to go so you don't miss out on what you want to do and what is your right as an American citizen to do. Really something we all should embrace and
absolutely
go after.
It's
all
a
right.
simple website, too, just my.arizona.vote.
Okay. Arizona.vote. Okay, we'll repeat that before we wrap up the program. I want to ask a little bit about, you said something here, and this has always confused me since it became part of how we do it in Arizona, and that's the difference between presidential preference and then presidential primary. And I wonder if some listeners might be...
Yeah. The first of all, I'll explain what... the presidential preference is so that we can have a say in who the nominee is for the election that comes up in November. The reason we have to have an early presidential preference is that our primary isn't until August, and by then the decisions for nominees are going to be made. So we want to have a say in that. So Arizona said we're going to go in early. There's actually, people don't realize it, but there's 4 election days every year, so that if there's something that needs to be voted on, a local school board override or, a general, a
fire district,
something like that. There's always those 4 days. So these are the 3 of those days. But we moved presidential preference to there. There are some caveats to it, though. It's a function of the party picking their nominee. So you have to be a member of that party to help pick the nominee. That means if you want to vote for the Democrat candidate, you have to be a registered Democrat. If you want to vote for the Republican candidate, you have to be a registered Republican. For the Libertarian, you have to be a registered Libertarian. That's the only election we have where you have to be pre-registered as a party. Independents cannot request to participate in one of those party elections because it is a function of the party picking their nominee.
Okay, and that's in the
presidential preference
on March 19th.
And there are often other little elections attached to that same election day. The big one is picking your presidential candidate.
Right.
But if, like currently in Cottonwood, there's a couple of recall petitions out. If the local city council or mayor get recalled,
right,
you would vote for their replacement on that same day.
Okay, if I'm an independent and I want to vote in the municipal election, but
you would still be able to.
I am able to. It just won't be on my ballot.
It just won't be on your...
You'll get two separate ballots.
Okay, so
one is the presidential one.
Gotcha.
And then one is any local city municipal elections.
Okay, and that's going to be true across the state.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And so you will be able to participate in any other elections. It's just not picking the candidate.
As it should be.
So,
okay.
Which is normally done in other states during the primary. The primary is normally a function of the party picking their candidates. And that does happen again in August here during the primary election. That's when we decide who we want to have run for the Senate, who we want to have run for Congress,
right.
State legislatures. If there's multiple candidates, this is when we pick who our nominees are going to be there. And in the primary, independents can vote in the primary of either party. They have to request it. So they can walk in to vote. They can contact the city or the county recorder and just say, I want a primary ballot for the Democrats or I want a primary ballot for the Republicans, and you'll be able to vote in those for every other race. The presidential one is the only one where you have to be pre-registered in that party.
Okay. So presidential preference is coming up in March 19th. And that is for major party candidates.
For the nominee for president from the major parties.
Okay. Right. And registered folks who are, is it correct to say registered independent?
Yes.
Or just not affiliated. Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Because it's a specific thing.
It's no party preference.
Okay. And there's been, I think Arizona has had a growing number of independents. Yes. And I don't know if they're pulling from, which of the red or blue party. I don't care.
I think our independents are a larger number than either party.
Is it so
they're
that
growing
they can,
on it at least, yeah.
I mean, we can only speculate, but are they curious in primary voting, or they just simply don't have an affiliation and are playing the middle ground?
I think
there's no way to know. I'm asking you to look.
Don't have an affiliate. I mean, I think some of it's the Arizona mindset, right? Like we are very independently minded.
We're a little Wild
in
West.
Arizona, in Yavapai County especially. And that's why a third of Yavapai County voters are independents.
Simple as that. I think we're almost a third and a third and a third, aren't we?
In Yavapai.
Darn close to that. Okay. All right, so great information there. I want to ask you about, I bet both of you have strong opinions. I know that so many of us, and this goes back to what we talked a little bit about in the first show, voter turnout in that presidential election, all presidential elections, is always the biggest.
Mm-hmm.
And you've illustrated through the last show, and even so far here today, that we should turn out strongly for every election in which we are encouraged to participate. Again,
we're trying to change the language around it because presidential elections, they'll talk about the coattails. So that if one of the candidates has a big lead, that down ballot candidates can kind of ride that wave because if people are going to show up for the big one, they'll vote for the rest. What we want to do is get people showing up for those local candidates and the things that really affect them in their day-to-day lives, and then we call it a top hat. Then maybe they'll vote up the ballot for the rest of them, but the real focus should be on those things that really affect you in your day-to-day life. Your roads, your schools, your taxes. I didn't realize till recently the reason Cottonwood City does not have property taxes. The county does, so everybody pays property taxes, but they're very, very low because we don't have a city property tax. But that's why we have the sales tax, and we have the sales tax on groceries. You might think that's right, you might think that's wrong, but those things are decided on the local level.
Right.
So those are the things you're voting for, the things that affect your pocketbook every day.
Right. And those are nonpartisan races, which means they don't have a D or an R next to their names, which makes it honestly all the more important for why you should look them up and vote for them.
Right. And that's by design, as we talked about in our earlier program. All right. We need to take another short break. Good information. We're going to do a series, really, I'm hoping to put together with our guests, present and future guests, about the elections. And I want to get into election integrity a little bit. We'll chat with Julie and Lama a little bit about that in our next segment. It's Countywide, and we'll be back right after this.
Life changes, then it changes again. Predicting the unexpected in life is impossible. That's why it's called unexpected. So when it comes to financial goals, our philosophy is don't predict, prepare. Hi, I'm Edward Jones financial advisor Matthias Sandoval. A job loss, change in health, or a loss of a loved one can have a big impact on your family's financial security. Let's work together to help make sure you're equipped for life's unexpected events. Call our office to schedule a face-to-face appointment.
Edward Jones, making sense of investing. Member SIPC.
Verde Solaire, your hometown heating, air conditioning, and plumbing company in the Verde Valley. And your trusted North Central Arizona Goodman dealer. Goodman is a name you can trust with the revolutionary Comfort Bridge technology factory installed into select Goodman gas furnaces and air handlers to ensure the entire system operates at peak energy efficient performance. Verde Solaire offers free in-home estimates, locally owned and operated since 1983. Visit them at verdesolaire.com. Better, cleaner, faster.
Hi, this is Louis Rice with Rice Accounting, Jackson Hewitt Tax Service, with a very sincere thank you for your continued business over the last 20 years. All of us at Jackson Hewitt Tax Service are very honored for the many community awards we've been given over the years. As always, we are open year-round, providing services for taxes, payroll, and bookkeeping. Jackson Hewitt Tax Service, located throughout northern Arizona, can help you with all your tax and accounting needs. For our nearest location, call 800-234-1040.
Let's talk. That's the message from Jonna Randall Murdoch, your local Farm Bureau agent, providing a personal touch when making insurance and financial decisions. Jonna will simplify your insurance needs while offering competitive pricing. Let's talk auto, home, life, and farm. Call Jonna at Farm Bureau today at 928-649-8686. Your Cottonwood Farm Bureau Property and Casualty Insurance Company. At Farm Bureau, they insure more than just farms.
Welcome back to Countywide. Again, I'm talking with Julie Fernat, Lama Hayburn with the Rural Organizing Initiative, and you can learn more about that organization online at ROI.vote. All things about voter registration, about candidacies. If you were interested in running for especially a small government, city, town councils, school boards, this is a good place to stop to find out what that is, what it isn't, and how you can become involved. And more involvement, whether it's voting, whether it's running, whatever it may be, campaigning for someone who kind of shares your thoughts and feelings. This is a great place to learn. I want to talk a little bit. Now, there's been a lot of questions for the last number of years about voter integrity. We've got about 7 minutes. What can we talk about on the local level, Julie, about voter integrity and making sure when I go cast my ballot at the poll, when I mail it in, whatever I do, that it's safe, it is counted as it should? How do I get there?
Yeah, that's a good question. A lot of people want to know, once I leave that voting booth, what happens to my ballot?
Yeah.
Your ballot is never alone with just one person. There is always someone from each party with the ballots every step of the way. So it's never left alone with a Republican. It's never left alone with a Democrat. There's always two people that are guiding those to the courthouse where they go to get put in to get counted. So it is secure. What I always tell people is if you have questions about election security, work an election so that you see how it works. First of all, we need people to work elections. It's citizen driven.
Right.
If you work the full day at the polls, you get paid for the day, and it's fun, and you will learn more about elections than you ever wanted to know. It's exciting. It's fun to be there and see people get all excited. You cannot electioneer inside those walls.
Right.
So, you're not there. But so even though there's every position has one Democrat and one Republican. So the clerk that signs you in, there's a Democrat sitting beside a Republican. On the, people that help you at the booth, there's a Democrat and a Republican both standing there beside you, so nobody can influence you.
You're talking about the polling place.
At the polling place.
On election day.
Yeah. When you mail yours in, the ballots are sent out. They're specifically to you. You have to sign your ballot. When you sign it is a place where they can't see who you voted for, but they look at your signature. Signatures are matched to your signature on your voter registration. If it doesn't match, your ballot is put aside. It's put aside for what they call a cure period. It doesn't mean you're not going to be counted. It just means they're going to double check.
Okay.
So starting election night, 7 p.m., they have the stack of ballots that said, hey, these didn't look right, this didn't really match. And then the parties can send people out to go talk to the voter and say, hey, was it you that voted? And if it was, you have to go down to the county recorder and sign an affidavit that said, yes, that's mine. Because people's signatures do change over time. Mine has changed. So I could get
As we age, if there's a medical condition,
Yeah.
I'm sure it happens to all of us at some point.
I started using my middle name, I realized, and it looks different.
Okay.
So, just different things happen.
Okay.
But you'll have the chance to go down and say, yeah, that is my ballot. Or say somebody stole your ballot out of the mailbox and tried to send something in. You can be like, that is not my ballot. Please destroy that.
Okay.
I took a ballot to, I went to somebody who needed a cure at the last election cycle. And what had happened is he had his wife sign it for him because he was at work that day. So you cannot have your wife sign for you. You cannot have your husband sign for you. It has to be you. But they caught it. They said, hey, these signatures
don't. Probably did not mean any ne'er-do-well.
No.
Husbands and spouses do these things.
Yes.
Right. And it's not allowed when they're talking about a ballot.
Yeah.
Now, this whole process, and I'm interrupting you a little bit because I want to bounce back to a tiny piece of this. This is all the whole process you just described. Somebody's going to get in the car and come to your home, perhaps, to make sure your vote counts.
Yeah.
Right.
To make sure your intent is applied. Mm-hmm. This is all under state in our case here, state law.
Yeah.
Dictates this process.
Right.
It's nothing new. It's nothing different. It's
exactly.
how we've kind of always kind of done it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. There's been so much concern about that. I don't know if I want to get in because, again, it's such a huge issue. The polling machines are flawed or this kind of thing.
Yeah.
As with your experience as a poll worker and in the future, are we assured that those are safe too at the polling place?
Yeah, and I'll tell you,
I
I've worked as what they call a judge at the election site, and you see what happens with the machines. You keep track of how many voters you had.
Right.
You see how many votes went through. It's a very secure process. Again, I really recommend that you work a poll. It's
like
really,
anything.
It's a fun.
Put your eyes
you meet
on it.
people, and then and if you see something you don't like, you can bring it up later.
Right.
But it does give you the opportunity to really understand that these things are secure. There's ways to look at things and make it make sense.
Right. Okay.
I would just add one thing, and that is for those of you doing mail-in ballots, when you sign your ballot, make sure you put your phone number on there because that is how the Secretary of State tells you there's an issue with your signature.
Is there a space for that?
There is a space for that.
So they
right
do
below your
ask for
signature.
it. Make sure you do it.
They ask for it. Some people don't fill it in. It's not a required field. But I recommend putting your phone number there so that if there is an issue with your ballot, say you forgot to sign.
Right.
You only have until 7 p.m. on Election Day to sign if you forgot to sign your ballot.
Right. Okay.
So they can call you and let you know, hey, there's no signature on this ballot. Come sign and get your vote counted.
So you may get it reconciled, but this
Right.
will speed that process along.
Exactly.
If at the very least.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so fill in all those blanks.
Yes.
When you're filling in that ballot. Okay, I think here again, I'll defer to you. Don't we have an extraordinary amount of mail-in ballots, I think, not just in Arizona, but Yavapai
yes.
County, really, right?
90% of Yavapai County votes by mail.
I sure
That's
do.
a really high percentage.
That is extraordinary. And I wonder, does that feed toward voter turnout?
To some extent.
If it's easier to vote, we'll vote?
Yeah. If it's
absolutely.
easy, you do it.
Yeah.
Being able to, and think about how spread out people are in Arizona. Sure. They've limited the number of drop boxes. So, you can right up through Election Day go in to the drop boxes and leave your ballot, but you can mail it if you're, a 2-hour drive from your local county recorder's office. Right. Just drop it in the mail.
Okay.
It is secure. It's sealed. You've signed it. It'll get there. They'll check it. If there's any questions, they're going to get back to you.
And a mail-in ballot does not have to be mailed. You can drop it at a polling place.
Exactly.
Help me with that. I'm a little fuzzy on that. Was there, and I don't want to confuse listeners, but that I can vote anywhere, not just, I live in Clarkdale.
In Yavapai County, that is correct.
I can go to...
That is a decision that is made by the Board of Supervisors in each county.
Okay.
As to whether we have what are called polling places.
Right.
Which means you can only vote at the polling place for your precinct where you live.
Okay.
But in Yavapai County, we have what we call vote centers. And you can vote at any vote center in the county as long as you are a resident and registered voter in Yavapai.
I live in Clarkdale, but today I happen to be working in Dewey.
Exactly. So
I can find a vote center in Dewey and cast my ballot. And that's the reason for it, I assume, is that we can do it.
Because we have so much, there's a lot of people that work somewhere and live somewhere else.
Right. Okay.
Another thing I really want to point out quickly, too, is you don't have to, a lot of people say, I like walking in, though, but I really like walking in. Mm-hmm. You can do that, but you don't have to wait till Election Day. Early voting starts a couple of weeks. Lama can give us the dates here in a minute, before the elections, and you can walk in, go in, vote on the machine, just like you like to do. And I always recommend don't wait till Election Day, because if you wait till Election Day, you're going to get a flat tire. Your kid's going to need to be picked up. something's going to happen. And
Frustration.
So just do it. If you like the walk-in, go ahead and do the walk-in, but do it early so it's taken care of.
Is some of this information on your website, Secretary of State? Where should I?
Secretary of State has all of it, and that is just in general a great go-to resource because that is the top elections official in the state.
Right.
We will work on getting that on our website, though, because that's a great idea.
Okay. Is there one, if I can, kind of as we head toward the wrap of the program, is there one issue relating to elections, be it integrity, be it registration, be it candidacies, that the two of you from your positions with this important organization frequently find or become more frustrating, or that people just misunderstand? Is there something that leaps to mind?
I think, the part where people think they'll get jury duty if they register to vote because,
really?
that comes up a lot.
Come on, folks.
I think that, that's a big issue sometimes. Sure. I think that keeps registration down, and they don't understand that's no longer an issue. They changed that for that reason.
Okay.
But just, I think the mail-in ballots I love them because you can sit down in the peace of your own home at your kitchen table and spend time reviewing everything when you're at the ballot.
To me, that's the best part.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
Agreed.
the absolute best part.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Postage is paid, the whole shebang.
Absolutely.
But that's the best part. You can be very considerate of every
and
single
you have time
question.
to research.
Tell me you pick up a ballot, you already know the answer to everything that's on there when you get it.
No one.
Doesn't happen.
No one.
Yeah.
This is a good way to make the most of your ballot. To make
and
sure
I will
you're
say
voting
that
for,
Arizona has changed the law. They used to call it the permanent early voting list because once you were on the mail-in list, you stayed there. Now you have to vote at least
once in a 2-year cycle.
So that you can stay on that list. If you get dropped off the list, it's easy enough to go back to Service Arizona and request to be put back on the list.
Okay,
Yes.
that doesn't eliminate your registration.
Right. You still are registered to vote. You just don't automatically get a ballot.
The mail-in ballot.
You will get a postcard asking if you want a ballot.
Gotcha.
But you have to request it.
Okay.
Or register again and be put back on that list.
Okay. There's so much to think about, so much good information. And I want to thank the two of you for 2 programs. And I want to continue these. We're going to pour it on here between now and next November. There is so much to think about. And there's been so much mystery around elections. It is a privilege and a right for Americans. And we want all of us to do it, to do the right things according to what our desires are at the polling place. So we do vote for the candidates and the issues that we favor. And this is a way to do it. Information is power. We'll take a short break. It's Countywide. We'll be back right after this.
Life changes, then it changes again. Predicting the unexpected in life is impossible. That's why it's called unexpected. So when it comes to financial goals, our philosophy is don't predict, prepare. Hi, I'm Edward Jones financial advisor Matthias Sandoval. A job loss, change in health, or a loss of a loved one can have a big impact on your family's financial security. Let's work together to help make sure you're equipped for life's unexpected events. Call our office to schedule a face-to-face appointment.
Edward Jones, making sense of investing. Member SIPC.
Verde Solaire, your hometown heating, air conditioning, and plumbing company in the Verde Valley, and your trusted North Central Arizona Goodman dealer. Goodman is a name you can trust with the revolutionary Comfort Bridge technology factory installed into select Goodman gas furnaces and air handlers to ensure the entire system operates at peak energy efficient performance. Verde Solaire offers free in-home estimates, locally owned and operated since 1983. Visit them at verdesolaire.com. Better, cleaner, faster.
Hi, this is Lewis Rice with Rice Accounting, Jackson Hewitt Tax Service, with a very sincere thank you for your continued business over the last 20 years. All of us at Jackson Hewitt Tax Service are very honored for the many community awards we've been given over the years. As always, we are open year-round, providing services for taxes, payroll, and bookkeeping. Jackson Hewitt Tax Service, located throughout northern Arizona, can help you with all your tax and accounting needs. For our nearest location, call 800-234-1040.
Let's talk. That's the message from Jonna Randall Murdoch, your local Farm Bureau agent, providing a personal touch when making insurance and financial decisions. Jonna will simplify your insurance needs while offering competitive pricing. Let's talk auto, home, life, and farm. Call Jonna at Farm Bureau today at 928-649-8686. Your Cottonwood Farm Bureau property and casualty insurance company. At Farm Bureau, they insure more than just farms.
We welcome you back to the program, just kind of wrapping it up again. Lama Hayburn, Julie Fernat, some terrific information on our couple of programs here in the last number of days. The Rural Organizing Initiative, ROI.vote. Secretary of State's, of course, a great resource to find out your registration, your status, and to make those votes as they come up. They're going to be coming up very quickly, beginning in March. Voter registration in February for that March preferential thing. So don't delay. Find out your status before the holidays come and you get caught up and confused. Something, Julie, I heard you say something about, I'm going to say this wrong, about when you go to vote, some people don't because, well, there's one candidate I don't like, and I don't like what he or she said about this, so I'm not going to vote at all.
Yeah.
And you said it's kind of like thinking about being on a bus.
Yeah. What I say is when it comes to voting, you're not getting married. You're not looking for your soulmate. You don't have to love everything about this candidate. It's more like riding the bus. You want to get on the bus that is going in the direction that you want to go. It may not take you all the way to your destination, but it's going to get you closer. You don't have to love every single thing they do, but if they're going in the direction that you want to go, vote for that candidate. You can get on another bus with another candidate down the line and get the rest of the way.
Yeah, I like that. I like to think of it that way. That's terrific. All right, I think the two of you, again, Julie Fernat, Lama Hayburn, the Rural Organizing Initiative, ROI.vote, and again, kind of kicking off a series that I hope we do many programs about voting, voter registration, candidacies, how to run, how to vote, how to register, how to become involved in the local processes that are the foundation of our country and our local world in Yavapai County. I'm Brad Miller. It's Countywide, and we'll see you next time.
This has been Countywide. Listen in each Tuesday and Thursday at this time. If you have a topic or guest idea that you'd like to suggest, email us, news@myradioplace.com.